Wow. So week 3 in a regular 18-week semester is really week 6. So sit with that for a minute, right? You in this course and I, by teaching it, are doing a short-term course, 3-unit short-term course. So again, just keep that in mind as the work may feel rushed, because in a sense it is. Now, I remember when I was doing my master's at National University, and I took my first intensive course, and it was a 1-month course, and it was a challenge. I'm not going to lie. And I really had to find techniques to help me navigate the amount of work that I needed to do and to accomplish. And one of the things I would do is just learn to not sit as much, but actually put textbooks through MP3s into my ears, meaning as I was walking, I could listen. And because there's so much video in this class and some of it you have to take notes, maybe that's more challenging. So for you, finding a way that you can navigate this content, staying on track, can be a challenge. And one of the reasons I know this is true is that when I graded this morning, because today is Friday of the end of the second week, as I move into the third week, there were definitely a few students who missed last night's work. So just know that, yes, I do offer late work, right? You can, if you miss this due date, you can do it over the weekend. It is 25% off. I've talked about that, but I thought it might be a good time to bring it back. And I do it because I get it. Do I get it? I don't know your specific circumstance, but I do understand that, I'm probably one of I'm one of many priorities you have in your life. And when I say me, I mean this class. So, okay, week 3, it's a 9-week course. And in this sense, we only have 6 more weeks to go. So don't confuse that with the 6 weeks in on an 18-week course. But just know it does move that way. And this week, we make a big transition. So we have been working on GitHub, okay, out on the web interface, on the website. And this week, you're going to set up a local dev environment. And for web developers, this is just something you want to know how to do. The reason I don't put it until week 3 is to give you a chance to kind of get into the class, understand some of the content. But the reason I do require students to set up a local dev environment is because it is just real world. Every web developer I know, and I know several, and have met several through my life, have a local dev environment. Now, this is also in the point of changing. Like, there's some change happening here. GitHub is offering up some new things to allow you to do more stuff out on the web instead of having to do locally. But ultimately, as you get more involved with this type of content, you will set up local dev environments. So, having said that, last of this week 2, Tuesday, because I always release week 3 for you all a little before I actually record the week 3 content or week 3 attendance. And so what I did is I did a video, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not completely proud of because I kind of had to learn as I was doing it because there was some changes based on this. And this is what you're going to see for Monday's instructional video. I want you to know that, well, here, let me just give you the overview just so you know. All right. And by the way, as I do this, one thing I do now, I totally understand that you may not be looking at it, but once you pass these weeks, and if you don't want to see them, okay, so again, we're here at the end of week 2. So I would typically roll this up. Now we're on to week 3, okay? So in this video, I tried to do an overview of the steps that you're going to do here, okay? And because some things had changed, I just kind of fumbled my way through it, but I hope it's helpful. And several of you are taking my CIT93 JavaScript class, which, by the way, and let me just say this, I don't actually recommend, but I can't keep you from taking 90, 82, and 93 at the same time. But I typically don't recommend it. And from the schedule that I showed you in the very first part of the class, you see that 82, 85, and then 93 come. But, I also appreciate that students are trying to finish. So, we also encourage that. But I just want to tell you that in this week, you install some software, you create a folder, you clone it, you do what's called the GitHub workflow, the Git workflow, not GitHub workflow. And really, here's conceptually what you're doing. We have been, up until this point, working on the repos that you created. The keyboard is a little more away from me, right? You've created these repos out here, and you've been putting images and doing notes, depending on which of your private or public. So now what you're going to do in this week, and you can see this as I've already set this up, is I have you create a folder on your system, and then inside of that folder, you're going to clone the repos that are within our course organization, and you're going to clone that repo that you had that I had you create this week for the GitHub IO, the website, which is a great feature of GitHub that if you, by naming it this specific way, you can actually render this as a website. So I want you to know when you end up, this is where it should look like this. Okay. And then inside of here, notice here, I don't have a git ignore. That's actually something that I do in my 93 course. So anyway, but here's the point I'm trying to make. Besides the point of showing you where you end up, right? So this is where you end up. But from here on out, you do not want to make changes out here on GitHub. All your changes to your code, anything else, will happen on your local system and then be pushed to GitHub. Okay. Coming back here, that's what this workflow does. It teaches you how to code locally, track those changes, and then push that code to GitHub. And here's what I've seen a couple students run into is that they still have the idea that they're going to change their GitHub, like private or public repos, which, by the way, you still can, so it still lets you do it. But what happens is when you're then moving and trying to do things locally and you try to push code or things that have changed out on GitHub, you just get a message, an error message. And, error messages are also just part of working in this kind of industry and learning how to navigate them. Because when you first, start doing some of this and you get error codes, it can cause a certain amount of stress. And learning to manage this stress, it's a good idea. But also reaching out for help, working ahead of time, all the things I've suggested you do. Okay. So we're making a big transition. My point of this is just to kind of give you an overview, tell you this video is pretty quick and gives you a quick overview of the detail here. You do have to do a hands-on and a current topic, and then you do the lecture. So it's also flipped in the order. We normally do the lecture first, the hands-on, the current topic, kind of like Thursday goes back to. Now, here's the other thing. This course that we're going to be doing now, once you get to the lecture, you're actually going to be coding something here, and you code the first 30 minutes of this, the dev ed. I will tell you, right? The one thing he does that I don't require, but I want you to know about is he installs these extensions into VS Code, which is what you'll use to code and to take notes from here on out in the course. You don't have to do that, right? And if you want to, you can. And here's what that looks like. So in VS Code, there's just like add-ons and for Chrome and other, like Windows has apps They're little mini apps that are specifically intended for the VS Code environment. Like one thing I think he does is prettier, right? So he'll go through and I think I have it enabled right now, right? But again, I just want you to know about them and you can watch them. You do not have to install them. So I believe that is a repeat. But do know that these extensions are definitely a part of many folks the way they set up their VS Code. Okay, and this course is kind of a pre-edited course, meaning before he got it ready to be formally published. So there's again, you're watching him fumble a little bit, but I really like it because, there's probably some newer ones, and I need to maybe look for one. But this is one of the best courses I've seen do the following, which is teach the HTML and the CSS together. Because I know, and it's really good. You're going to learn some of this when you take hopefully CIT 85 next, or maybe I think a few of you may have taken it before this course. But and those in that class you learn these technologies in more depth, but really in building sites we use them and write them together. You don't typically go through write HTML, write CSS. Okay, you typically, as you create the structure of your page, your HTML, you're also giving it, I call this kind of the bones, the HTML, and then CSS is putting clothes on it, making it look good, right? Because you've been around the web, we like it when there's a couple things we like. We like it when they look good and they load fast, and that's what you want to learn how to do. Okay. Okay, so I just want to tell you that for this week, just to give you that, some of this content from me for the videos here is one from last or maybe a semester before. This is new content that I recorded for my 93 class. I do tell you specifically, right, set up a folder here. So this is the equivalent of what I was showing here, which on my directory I set up on my local system, right? I'll just show you this. So I actually did it. This is on my Mac. I created a directory called FCC. And then within there, I'm already working on next semester, which is our next 9 weeks, which is Python. And then here is my 82. So this is what it looks like from the file Explorer, file manager, or on Mac, the Finder view. Okay, so I just want you to know that. So the second half of this week, the Thursday items, right? So these we kind of go back to a little bit of a normal structure. You are going to continue on this class. In this second half, I do get more specific as far as when I want you to do what's called commits. Okay. And I tell you where I want you to do that at. Right. So continue to the 1 hour and 30 because we did 30 minutes before. So you're doing a little more coding this week. Where he includes files, build that structure as you see him do it. Ask any questions you might have. So actually it's one commit here, which is code along at 57. And I think next week, starting in week 4, I actually even get more specific and have you do more of these. And as you take more of my classes, we'll get experience with this. Okay. All right. I think that's it for me. Have a great week 3. Remember, my office hours are listed in the syllabus. Reach out for help. It really is helpful if you reach out before due dates or submit before due dates. That way, if you're having issues with something, you can fix it and get full points. It's my reminder there. Otherwise, have a great week 3. Oh, and if you didn't know, there's some fun stuff. There's 2 things I'll end with this, and you can reply to maybe any of this. There was an announcement last night. Tesla is actually building a robot. I own a Tesla electric car that I have done full self-driving. It's not full, but it's very interesting. And to think of them building a car, a humanoid, human robot. And I say human in quotes, okay? So a robot. It's very interesting. And the other thing is we're seeing more and more sites built on machine learning that actually code. and there was a demo this week as well. Maybe I'll find those two links and put them down there, right? So it's very interesting to watch some of the leading edge stuff coming out right now, because it is coming what feels even more fast and furious than before. So hang on tight. Here it comes. Have a great week.